And welcome back to part 18 of What If Naruto, or excuse me, What If Hinata were on Team 7 with Naruto and Sasuke. Last time in Naruto What If, we had gone through pretty much all of the Kakuzu through the Itachi arc. Itachi is dead, but they have reclaimed his body before Obito and Zetsu were able to get to him. Now, someone did bring up a question in the comment section asking if the Pain arc technically happened before the Itachi arc. And if you're talking about when Pain invaded the village, no, it did not. The Pain arc happened very, very much after the Itachi arc. If you're talking about when Jiraiya was killed by Pain, that I think might have happened before the Itachi arc or simultaneously. Basically, they were technically happening at the same time, but when we see it in the manga, I think it is that happens beforehand. But yes, technically speaking, the actual Pain attacking the village arc, no, that happens after the whole Itachi thing. Um, so we cut to basically the aftermath of the Itachi incident, where they say the mission was a success. They killed Itachi and they retrieved his body, but they get the news that Jiraiya was killed in a battle with Pain, and this rocks Naruto to his core, because it probably hits him about as bad as it did in the original. And in the original, he was pretty much inconsolable. No one could get through to him. Not Iruka, not Kakashi, not anyone could get it through to him. But luckily he does have both Sasuke and Hinata there. I do think Hinata is able to get, obviously being his girlfriend and more or less the love of his life, is able to console him in a way where he isn't just shutting down. But still, Naruto does need time to mourn. That was the thing, is that Naruto needed time to mourn, and that's what happens. That being said, and I want to get the frog's name up here, so the toad's name up here. Was it Fukushima? No, not Fukushima. That's the name of a place. Fugatsu? Naruto Toad. Hold on. I want to get the old Toad's name. Naruto Toad. Let's see. Toad. Fu. I know it was Fu something. No, Toad. Anyway, the old Toad. The old man Toad. The old Gramps Toad. Actually, hold on. I can probably get the list of names of the Toads right here. Okay. Fukasaku. That was his name. Fukasaku and Shima. Those were the two Toads. Fukasaku obviously says, we're going to train you in the Toad arc, just like we did Jiraiya. And it's going to be the only way you could defeat this Pain guy kid. And obviously they also figure out the message. And Naruto goes to train with the Toads. Obviously giving Hinata, a nice kiss. It's like, I'll be, goodbye. Be like, I'll be back, babe. Don't worry. It's like, I believe it. You be back here to kick that guy's ass. And like, I love it when you talk dirty. And, he disappears and goes through his training. Now, his training is going to go pretty much the same. He's not going to really learn many other techniques, although should be noted that the Toads, particularly Shima and Fukasaku, did know a couple techniques, like specific techniques. Fukasaku himself, at least in terms of the official Narutopedia here, does know a couple techniques like the frog, tongue lash, few sage art techniques, though nothing that Naruto would really be able to include into his roster. Though he did have wind release, and in the anime his water release. He uses wind release in collaboration with ninjutsu with Shima and Jiraiya, but again, not a technique he can just teach Naruto, unfortunately. Although I could see him teaching that fighting tongues lash to jutsu, the senjutsu, where basically it's technically his tongue, but it's technically a senjutsu technique where you're got energy. It's basically almost like a beam, pretty much, and you're cutting through things. Shima, I think we did see her use something similar as well. Shima also had wind release, but she had fire in the anime. Actually, she just has fire naturally, apparently. Whereas Fukasaku had water, allegedly. Again, though, that we don't see much in terms of actual wind techniques. I'm just figuring out if I've had to remember to have them teach Naruto a wind jutsu. Unfortunately, no. They don't know any specific wind jutsu to teach him. And if they were going to teach him like the senjutsu art techniques, they would have taught it to him already in the original version. Point being, Naruto goes, his training goes the same. Um, that said, there's another thing going on simultaneously with this, is that Sasuke, he's just thinking over what, his brother told him, and, asking Tsunade when they need to get Danzo in here right now and get some information out of him. And she's like, I've been wanting to get Danzo up in for years, but Itachi's testimony, as much as incredible as it may seem, he's still labeled as a traitor from the village. Only so many people apparently knew about that. I'm guessing the third knew about it, but without that information, without that confirmation, we can't just go against him like that. We can bring him in for questioning, but he'll probably just deny it. And Sasuke's pissed off about that. That said, though, they have Itachi's body in custom, and furthermore, his Sharingan is in Sasuke's possession. Sorry, I got some coins in my hand that were in my pocket. Didn't want them to fall in the back of the couch, fall in my pocket. Because Sasuke does not want anyone else to get their hands on his Sharingan. So no, they're in his possession. What he doesn't know right now is about the Eternal Mangekyo, because he doesn't even realize he has the Mangekyo at the moment. Or at least at the time when Itachi died. Because let's be honest, even though Itachi did put the Sharingan in, impart his Amaterasu in there, he got the Sharingan when Itachi died, because it's the emotional turmoil of losing a loved one that triggers the Mangekyo more than anything. So he's dealing with that struggle. But what happens ultimately is pain invades the village. Now, when pain invades the village, and I can't remember exactly how many days it was. It was a little while. It wasn't like a huge amount of time, but it was a little while, like a week's worth of time. So you might have been able to figure. Sasuke probably became aware of the fact that he did have the Mangekyo within that 7-day period. Just hasn't had a good opportunity to try it out yet. Still, pain invades the village and starts wreaking havoc. Unlike the first time, or the original time he invaded the village, you have both Sasuke and a very powerful Hinata there, along with Kakashi. That immediately causes some problems here, because if I remember correctly, they took down the Azura Path. They took down... Actually, no, it was just the Azura Path they took down. But that said, we know Kiba and his mom were trying to take on the Preta Path, and that didn't... I mean, they probably would have beaten the Preta Path had they not, effed off. But ultimately, I think what you would get, instead of Kakashi more or less taking on Deva Path alone, you get Team 7 taking on Deva Path, which adds for a whole new dynamic on that fight. Because now Kakashi doesn't have to kill himself to slow pain down. Instead, you have Sasuke and Hinata both at his side. And they're both trying their best to get in. There's only a 5-second interval, which they quickly figure out. Unfortunately, they only have so much speed to get in there and close the distance. So they have to time it right and get in there. Hinata, unfortunately, doesn't have any true technique that's a range technique, save for a couple lightning juicers he has under her belt. And even, and I can see her, holding her finger right there after getting blasted back, just within that 5-second interval, and then doing the pale lightning as he's distracted with Sasuke, who would definitely be keeping his attention. Sasuke would arguably be the strongest one there, arguably. And, just as he's going to Chidori, it's like, Shira Tensei. And times it, so just the minute it pushes, he's repelling Sasuke back, he suddenly gets a blast right in the shoulder. Now, remember, the Deva, none of the paths can actually feel pain. They're dead bodies. They just have chakra receivers that let them move. But he still feels it, and he goes, Hinata's just staring, after, getting kind of the crap kicked out of her a little bit, because Hinata can't stand against the Deva Path ultimately. Hinata was never weak, let's be clear. But even as she wasn't canon, she couldn't tag the Deva Path at all. If she had tagged her once with that Lion Fist, it would have seriously messed him up. And he recognized that threat too, even though it was more that he just wanted to put despair into Naruto and make him feel pain, not realizing how bad that backfire. So ultimately, he then does Buto Tensei, and basically bringing up the chakra rod to basically skewer her. Only at the last minute to see that his hand gets lit ablaze, and he's suddenly like, "What is this?" and then he sees Sasuke with his Mangekyo activated for the first time against an opponent, eyes bleeding, obviously, just Amaterasu, and then his arm just starts to burn away, and now he's got to just basically take the arm off, or I could see him just using the Shinra Tensei to cause the flames to um, basically disperse off him, and he does that. Unfortunately, he took his attention off Hinata, who jams a full power lightning fist or lightning palm right into his chest, and basically nearly burns a hole right out of his chest. Again, though, technically he could still be alive, but we saw that Rasengan put the Deva Path down ultimately. It's still got physical limitations, even though it's technically not a living body. I mean, they move, they act like living bodies, they can communicate, but they have no, as far as I can tell, they don't have a heartbeat. I don't think. It's never actually specified if their bodies are organically living at that point. It's just that he uses corpses, reanimates them with his chakra rods, and then keeps going. I guess they do have beating heart, organs that work, all that, just because they can be brought down with things like a Rasengan or something like that. So I don't know. I guess we can make that argument, which means they together with their teamwork were able to put the Deva Path down, which is a big thing. And they put the Azura path down. And when the minute that's made aware to all the other paths, they quickly converge on Team 7's location. And like, oh no, we need to get out of here now. We need to get those paths. We need to get the paths, Deva and the Azura, out of here before it's too late. Before they get reinforcements, and they're trying to go for the bodies using the summoning of the animal path, using the Preta path to absorb chakra. Use the human path and the Naraka path really aren't that useful in combat. They're more, they have useful jutsu. It's just that in terms of like an actual combative state, battlefield kind of ability, they are not the most useful there in that case. The Azura, the Deva, the Preta even, they are definitely more useful in that sense. So, they're getting it coming in. They're trying to, get the bodies out of there, and they're almost succeeding. And Hinata does what Sakura did and calls out for Naruto, and then all of a sudden, Naruto shows up. Now, he shows up in the middle of the village, and he sees what's going on, and he immediately rushes in and just Rasengans the Naraka path, which unfortunately is the one that can resurrect the other ones. And he goes like, the cubic container is here, but we're outmatched. And then Preta path tries to go in to take Naruto's chakra. Fukusaku makes notes like, this one can absorb chakra. Fun, Frogatoss. And then, just smacks and breaks the neck, just like he did. Now he's just a human. The animal path. The animal path just trying to spam these guys. But unfortunately, Sasuke's got one more Mangekyo in him, and just Amaterasu's that one just incinerates that one to bits. So just the human path, which Hinata just gentle fist and just hits the chakra points, just cause that one to go flop. It's like you do not get off so easy. We will take you in for questioning. It's like, if you honestly think I will reveal anything to you, you're very mistaken, young Hyuga. And then he just kind of turns off, because I imagine he could just shut him down if he really wanted to. So Naruto's just like, no, but Naruto figured it out because they figured it out. I believe. Is that when Naruto figured it out? I think that's when they figured it out. The real one isn't there. He's at the chakra. He can tell there's chakra. He's still in sage mode, so he just stabs it and just locates Nagato, and he heads and he says basically that I'm gonna head straight out and find him. Now, understand that Naruto's mindset in the beginning of this fight, he's more or less where he was at the ending of this fight in the original series. He was confident in his ninja way about, the whole stance on Jiraiya and stuff like that. He probably would have talked to Nagato regardless. But then he started to lose, and Hinata got nearly killed. The Fox took near perfect control over Naruto for a little bit. So, but then his dad came in and gave him that pep talk, And yeah, he got this courage back. So he was still basically in the same mindset as he started at the end of that fight. So he goes off and he eventually confronts Nagato. And Nagato tries to take control, but that fails miserably. um, that fails miserably, and then they have their conversation. Now, to be fair, Naruto doesn't have that same bolster that he did from the original fight because has he hasn't met his dad, so it's still one of those things where he's very he's very understanding in some ways towards Nagato, but at the same time he still does the talk no jutsu on him, and ultimately Nagato kind of rescinds and resurrects the people he killed. Now, fortunately for Leaf Village, they didn't have the giant F-off Shinra Tensei, which cratered the entire village. So they do have that benefit. So yes, Nagato is defeated, dead. Konan takes his body and he wishes him luck and goes off. Meanwhile, what's been happening is that Zetsu reported to Obito, and Obito is not happy. It's like that blessed Nine-Tails brat. The plans were going so perfect until this happened. Until he was able to. If only Sasuke had given in to his hatred and gone after Itachi of pure hatred instead of vengeance. Revenge is such much easier and manipulator than just pure vengeance. And that's when, instead of Kabuto showing up, it's Orochimaru who shows up because he's already he's already resurrected to some degree. We don't get Kabuto. Kabuto's it's not useless, but he's still available. But it's Orochimaru because he's got access to Edo Tensei. Well, he just appears that it seems you need some help, Madara. Madara, that is what you're going by, isn't it? What do you want, Orochimaru? I could kill you right now if I wanted to. True, but then you would not be able to have the war you so desperately want. Explain. Explains. And then Orochimaru basically tells him that I can offer you an army. And what do you want in exchange? Oh, nothing. I just want Sasuke. That's all I want. The Sharingan. That's what I want. Access to more than anything. And Obito's thinking about it, and it's like, very well. But what do you have to offer in return? This. And he basically summons the remaining Akatsuki members who are, or all the Akatsuki members who are dead. It's like, so you're giving me access to the Edo Tensei. Oh, I don't have just this, Gina. I have so much more. So many famous ninja, including this. And then he summons, obviously, the body of the actual Madara. Which, by the way, where they found the DNA for Madara, I have no idea. That's a good question on Kabuto's part. Where did you find that DNA? Because you need a little bit of DNA to ultimately use it effectively and actually create them. So Orochimaru is basically in agreement with Obito at that point. It's like, very well. Now we have the other thing, because we have Kisame trying to take Killer B, which technically happened after the Kage summit, but to be fair, I think honestly, it probably wouldn't even happen because he's in the, although Kisame has little qualms about just going into a village and doing what he wants. So I guess you could say he goes into the village. And he goes in the village, and they have their fight. Now, this time around, though, it works more into Killer B's favor because of just the location, and he's able to ultimately, hide in one of the tentacles and use one of the tentacles as basically like a substitution. Kisame comes, they try to seal up the as Kisame ultimately shows up, escapes with the A-Tails. And, him and Obito and Zetsu, who are pretty much the only remaining living members at this point, are, sealing away the QB, except for Konan, obviously. QB and, or QB, I actually can't remember the name of the A-Tails, actually. Actually forgetting his name. Guiki? It's began with a G, that I remember, but I can't remember exactly what his actual name was. Anyway, so they say it disappears like, it's just one trial after another. Prepare, Kasami. We are going to war, but first I must collect something. Now, here's the thing. I do think that the whole thing, the whole idea or debacle with, Kasame attacking the Eight Tails does cause for the Kage Summit to be formed. However, you have Tsunade who's still very capable of going to the Kage Summit, and her bodyguards are probably A, Shizune, and because that's her aide, and B, probably either Kakashi or Guy. I'm going with Kakashi. He's just the more reliable one. So the question is, who is the acting Hokage at that point? Well, the person in charge probably is someone along the lines of, I don't know, any competent, Jonin or anything like that is probably who she goes to. And then obviously, so it's, or she could even put Guy in charge. She doesn't like it, but she doesn't trust Danzo, and she'll definitely take Guy over Danzo. So they'll go off, and kill A basically has Killer B at his side pretty much all times. Like he has Darui there as well, but he has Killer B instead of, oh god, was it? He has Dory, was it Omi? No, him and Karu had gone, and Samu had gone to leave. Who was his second envoy? I should forget who A's second envoy was. But anyway, he has Killer B there. And, that it's the formation of the Kage Summit. Meanwhile, Obito has that probably brief declaration. See, here's the thing. He was there partly to talk to Naruto, but also to declare war on the five nations. And Naruto's not there, so he just declares war on the five nations. He then goes, gets Nagato's Rinnegan, and there you have it. That's where the war arc begins. So, we're at the 22-minute mark now. I would say that's probably going to be a good place to end this video right now at part 18. We should have enough to do one more video. I mean, we could go into two more videos. I think we'll be good after one final video. So, Dylan, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later.